Miss Kaila?
Hey, Queen, I'm so excited about this. Okay, they can see us both. I don't know what's with Instagram today, then, y'all.
I don't know, but the enemy becomes to attack great things. So I just know that this is gonna be great.
Baby, it's the word for me. And we ain't even opened up yet. We ain't even opened up yet.
Well, for those of you that have joined, this is the last just discussion of the black business mentality. I'm all over the place this Wednesday, where we are just sitting down with different black owned businesses, black entrepreneurs, and discussing one, how we're prioritizing our own mental health, but how our works and our crafts are pouring into the wellness journeys of other people. And so I've been coming from the 8 parts of the wellness wheel. If you have not seen the previous ones, you can check them out on my YouTube after this or my Instagram lives. But Miss Kaila is ending us in spiritual wellness. I am going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself and share why I had to have her for this particular subject. Um, but just to give us just an intro, Miss Kaila, tell us who you are, what you do, and how you even got into this wild world of entrepreneurship.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Kaila with the I, not a Y, Matthews. I'm Big Memphis from Memphis,
Yeah.
Tennessee, supporting, serving, uplifting, and loving Memphis, Tennessee, and all of her grit. But I support people everywhere. I'm a birth and postpartum doula. I'm changing and transitioning and just calling myself a birth worker because I'm a lot more than the doula. I offer birth and postpartum services. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm a student midwife. I'm a placenta encapsulator. I'm a doula trainer. I'm a childbirth educator, spinning babies educator. I mean, you name it, your girl's gonna go try and figure out how to provide this service for my people. I got into and my business name is What the Doula. And so you'll see me all around the internet telling people to get a doula mine and ask me about what a doula is because I just really, really believe that connecting people with education about what it is that they need to do for the short term and the long term is how we can be
Mhm.
well and how you really start to change the trajectory of the
Yeah.
generations. It's bigger and deeper than just you and what you do. Your choices impact, the fruits of your lamb and the people that are connected to you in lineage and just our prayer and default and proximity. And so, we gotta stay armored, man. We gotta stay prepared. We gotta stay skilled. We gotta stay steady. We gotta stay versed and open to new opportunities. And so that's honestly how I got into this work. I became an entrepreneur because I'm obedient.
Woo!
I was a classroom teacher, obedience girl. I'm a servant, and I was teaching in the classroom. My background is in education. I taught 5th through 12th grade math and computer science in local public schools, and I was really good at it. I loved it. Like you would literally see me shooting in the gym with my kids, late hours of night, early hours of the morning. And when I had my second child, postpartum anxiety hit, and it made me say, "Well, man, I don't know if I can be as great at my job and be as great of a mom as I want to be."
Mm.
And that was just that wasn't a normal for me, y'all. Like I am great at the things that I do, and one area that I could not risk or afford being deficited was motherhood. My children, I lost my mom when I was 8. And so it's very important to me that I'm integral and a key part of my children's lives and their development. And so, like I said, Kaila does
Oh.
it all, man, and does. But so, talking to my therapist, I got in therapy. Talking to my therapist, we figured out that it was my job that was giving me the postpartum anxiety, y'all. And just, brain dumping, word finding, like, what could you do that wouldn't feel like work? And I kind of threw out, I could be a doula.
Mm.
And I was like, damn, I could be a doula. And so at the time, to give you context, this was 2019. The word doula was starting to, like trend up, but everybody wasn't really jumping on the train yet. And I had experience with being with the doula because I had a doula
Yeah.
with my 10-year-old. So this wasn't foreign to me. I just never seen someone run a
Mm-hmm.
business in that, in my close circle. And so in my mind, at first when I said it, it was just gonna be a hobby, a side hustle. I even made a Facebook status to some regard, like my new passion is gonna be birth work. Send me your people. I got my first client off of that. Shout out to Niecy Williams. She's been my 2-time client now.
Mm.
Um, but got my first client off of that status, and it was cool. I'm just gonna take a couple people on the side. Then I kind of got an inkling that I needed to do this a little more consistently than in between like the school breaks and the side, but it didn't make sense. I had a
Yeah.
full-time job as a teacher. You barely, get a break to go see your kids do
Mm-hmm.
anything as a
Mm-hmm.
teacher, let alone help somebody else
Yeah.
have their baby for X amount of hours, and you don't know when you're going. It did not fit with my work, right? And I was telling my husband, I said, babe, I really think I need to quit my job and become a doula. And he was like, what? How much do doulas even make? My husband, if you've ever met my husband, Martin, he's a numbers man. We're both accountants. And he's like, yeah, that don't make sense. Let's just, he was starting our tax company at the time too. He said, let me start the tax business. Let's do this for 2 or 3 years and then you could. And the wife in me was just like, okay. And I kid you not, sis. I got to work the next week, and God said, this your last week. He said, this your last week. It was a Thursday. It was a Thursday. I got sick. I did not go back to work Friday. COVID. Classes shut down.
Mm.
We never went back to the
Wow.
classroom. That was my last week of work. Girl, I get tears thinking about it because it really happened that way.
Uh-huh.
He shut the world
Yeah, because I told
down
you to do
to
something,
pull
and
me.
you're gonna do it.
Girl, he said, I told you to do something and you're gonna do it. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't go back in the classroom. Okay, now I can really be a doula. Cool. So I'm trying to figure it out. Still being disobedient though. I didn't quit my job. So
Mm.
I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not in the classroom, so I can do it. He then says, I'm going to switch you to a non-tested subject. So that allows me to have more flexibility. So I thought, but what that actually did was make me a target because non-tested subjects were the first people to go when them budget cuts happened.
Mm.
And so I went from being critical, crucial as a math teacher to, just being a disposable
Yeah.
computer science teacher. And it made me say, well, if I can be disposable, let me choose the disposition. Like, let me choose where I'm finna go. And so I threw the deuces. I literally, sis, I went out with my kids. I looped up with my kids. So most of them were the sixth graders that I taught. I was now their 12th grade teacher. I told them, like, I told you to and through, we through. Like, we graduating together. We done.
Mm.
And I did my last set of kids. And I picked up a job with my friend as an operations manager. To help him grow his marketing company. Shout out to Kenneth Worlds for giving me a chance with 3 Eye Creative
Shout out to
Communications.
Kenny.
And that allowed me, I know, shout out to Black Excellence. And that honestly allowed me to really get my first taste of how my skills in the classroom, so that first career, right out of college, how that was applicable to other industries. And so I used my teacher skills, the systems and routines and the things that I used to build an athletics program and to run multiple classrooms, managing hundreds of children and adults to help run a national, marketing company.
Mm.
And it worked. I then spanned that to doing it with my husband, with our marketing company, with our tax and financial company. And it's doing amazing. I, lended that expertise to what the doula, same thing. And I just, I started looking at what was happening, and I'm like, I'm I'm
Yeah.
entrepreneuring. Like that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I'm literally taking a skill set of service, a set of processes, some work, and I'm contracting it out to people for their growth and their development of their businesses and my own, because I'm reaping the benefit of it too. And so that's a long roundabout way of like how I got into this. It was a little bit of obedience, but a lot of showing up in the spaces and places where I was planted to be able to bring those seeds with me to the new
Mm-hmm.
gardens that I knew I was going to be in.
Mm-hmm. Miss Kayla, baby. The
She got bars now. I might be a little preacher.
My God. First of all, the title of this segment here is gonna be Obedience Doesn't Fit. Baby, it don't fit. And
Obedience.
I so resonated with that because I got into entrepreneurship being obedient. So I left corporate healthcare, and I went into a group practice because if you're gonna keep your passion in healthcare, sometimes, baby, going by the policies of the people,
It ain't gonna get you there.
it's just the same. And so I just, said, well, I got to figure out how to help the people so we can help people, because healthcare is a business, right? And so I went on, I had practice, and then what happened was I got pregnant at the end of 2020. And the entire 2020 of COVID, we never left office. The director was very intentional about keeping the office a safe space. Like, there's
I
domestic violence
love that.
picking back up, there's substance use picking back up because we're in isolation. We're going to be the safe place. And shout out to Charity Godfrey because she did an amazing job of like keeping us safe, the office safe, all of that. What had happened was, though, at the end, when I got pregnant, my first trimester was horrible. I was on bed rest because I was just so sick and nauseated. And I ended up calling out that first week and telling all my clients, hey, I'm going to have to see you guys next week because I literally couldn't get out the bed. Well, one of the clients ended up emailing me at the end of the weekend saying, yeah, I'm going to have to skip next week because I tested positive for COVID. Now, if I wouldn't have canceled all of my clients for that week, I would have came in contact with her. And it was the bigger picture of like, all right, Danesha, it's not just you that you have to be concerned about now. Like, you got to see this.
It's your
It's your season.
seed.
It's
It's
your
your
season. And so
seed.
that whole month, God sat me down and was really just like speaking to me about going independently. Now, you this the thing. When you tell God that you willing to say yes, he gonna go ahead and push you into the yes, right? And so my mama,
Baby, he ain't
he ain't
waiting on
wait,
your
he ain't wait.
taxes to come. He ain't waiting on the school year to
For
end. He
sure.
say jump, and he ready for you to be obedient and say
We just gonna
hi.
jump off the cliff. And so it was around Christmas time. I went back home, and my mama is on this live. She can attest to this. And I told my mama, I said, God is really speaking to me about leaving my group practice and going into entrepreneurship by myself. I said, but mom, like, that means it's all on me now. And like, I got a kid. Like, you said I got another mouth to feed, and you want me to go by myself. And my mama sat on the couch and she
By myself.
said, if God is telling you this, well, what you afraid of? Like, you got to
Cause
know that
it's gonna be
you,
worse
you
not
right.
listening.
And she said, what you afraid of? And that's my mom. My mom is the type of person where she's gonna make me look directly at the fear so I can run towards it. Right. And so
It's called tracking your tigers. I love
yeah,
that.
and so after that I said, all right, we gotta do it. And I did. And when I say what you said was like being planted allows you to like flourish from where you are. That space that I was planted in has literally gotten me to where I am today because I was before I moved to
Bro.
Tampa, I was in Fort Myers where it's the last city in the United States of America, Fort Myers and Cape Coral, to be desegregated. And so they carry that
Oh
energy,
wow.
right? But here I am,
Mm.
little black girl, where the Lord has allowed me to just flourish in opening my private practice. Why? Because other people need relatability. They need somebody that looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
This is at the height of racial injustice where we having to face. And
Mm-hmm.
so now people need to get in therapy, right? And so where
Sis,
I was planted, here's when I let that
my
thing open up to my yes.
sis, my devotional probably about 2 years ago, I was doing 100 days of believing bigger with a group of spiritual sisters. And it was at the time when I was explaining to somebody, and we'll get into it deeper into the live, but I was explaining to somebody that I was pivoting from becoming a doula to becoming a midwife, and specifically to become a certified professional midwife, which is a midwife that'll practice mainly in homes and birthing centers. And if you know anything about right now, the bag is in the hospitals, the
Yeah.
bag is travel nursing, the bag is
Yeah.
RN, like them letters, like doing that. Shout out to all of my like frontline,
Mhm.
like nurses,
Mhm.
nurse practitioners, all of those people like doing that amazing work. And that's not the way I want to get there. I want traditional community learning under like aunties and grandmas. And so when I explained that, every single person that I told that to was like, no, that ain't the way to do it. Like, you're supposed to go to nursing school first. Like, your territory can look this way when you do it this way. And I just remember tearing that devotional that day, and it told me that my path to my destination maybe hasn't been written in a language or a means, a way of being interpreted by anybody other than me. It ain't gonna look like the
Mhm.
learning, the education, the trajectory, the path, the core competencies, the whatever credentialing you're saying that I need to get in the space, place, in the building. That's not the rules for me, because he's telling me to do something and I'm answering. And I kid you not, everything that I have written down and made plain since December 2019 behind what the doula and the vision for this business has flourished. And
Mhm.
if it hasn't, he took that and flipped it and made it like that,
Yeah.
like bigger than what I thought. You know, it like, and so back, I said all that to say, like, it don't look how we thought. Like, you think, you know, you end up in this place full of affluent black people where, you know, they all happy and but no, you gotta go in the trenches
Mhm.
where they need you the
Yep.
most, where you're gonna be utilized and the most impactful.
Yes. And I think, speaking of just spiritual wellness, and I'm definitely going to share like why I felt you were needed for this space. But what you just said is a testament to being well in your spirit, right? Like, a lot of people correlate religion to spirituality, but your spirituality is just, how am I operating in the essence of my soul? My, like,
Mm.
what brings me inner peace? Like, what makes me feel grounded? Who is and what is my higher self and my higher calling, right? And a lot of times that does not look like face value reality based. And so, in order to be spiritually well, I have to be able to nourish my mentality, because sometimes to operate in my spirituality, I almost got to be a little bit insane. Meaning, I got to like step out. I got to
Baby,
step out in some trenches where like I don't see cushion, I don't see safety, I don't
where's
see
the
solid.
life
Like, where
jacket?
is it?
Who's the person that's doing this? Like, no one else. And my husband, he will say it all the time. You know, I'm so happy you didn't listen to
What?
me. I'm so happy that you listened to the man you were supposed to listen to, because, you know, you get into this spiritual wellness, right? I wear my intersectionalities. I got some hats that, you know, I'm
Uh-huh.
supposed to listen to my husband. That's my head.
Mm-hmm.
But my father had put something different on me, and what we were learning at the time, it's crazy now, because now my husband is an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, and he got the courage to do that off of seeing my unwavering determination to literally turn nothing into something.
Mm-hmm.
Since I took an $800 investment into this doula business and have been going 5 years strong, and the business pays for itself.
Yeah.
Like, the business pays for itself. I'm getting honors and I'm getting awards and recognitions, and that stuff is cool. But it just feels good to really be, you know, to wake up every day and choose to do something that I'm called to
Mm-hmm.
do and that I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it don't feel like work. Teaching did feel like work. It got to a point where it felt like work.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm pretty sure this will get to a point where it will feel like work, and I'll be ready and open to pivot when that do
Mm-hmm.
too. Like, I am. It is well enough with me to know when, you
When
know,
it
the season
tips.
is past and it's time for me to to go on and impact, be planted, grow, do somewhere else. But I'm so grateful that he does stick roots, you know, right? Because when I think about my time in the classroom, I had like 5 different plans of getting out of that classroom. I had like 5 different, and they were all good plans. They all would have had, you know, like some sort of impact on others. And it wouldn't have gotten me to where I'm at
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. That somebody said purpose in the comments. That's the thing. When you are aligning yourself with purpose, it's gonna shift you into trajectories that like you never saw. So I wanna share the essence of shift. So my pregnancy, going back to being before I moved to Tampa, being in Fort Myers, and they carry that energy of like desegregation, and they don't have a problem letting you know that they don't like your black self in their area. Okay, they'll have an issue, and so I just research and statistics and data helps because like, well, there's black women dying at the hands of white physicians on the labor table, right? Like, let's talk about it. Let's be for real. And so I think for me, it was like, I don't want to be a statistic where they tell me on a day to day, like in the grocery store, that they don't like me. So I don't want to lay on the table and like avail my womb to them. You know what I'm saying? And so the entire pregnancy, I went through a process with a doula and a midwife where I wanted a natural water birth. That was my idea. When I spoke to my husband at the time, my ex-husband, I was telling him like, here's data, here's why I think this is, because now I got to pitch the plan because this ain't coming out insurance like this, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
I thought that he was gonna give me some pushback, and he was like, okay, got it, right? And so went through that entire process. And the reason why I chose you for spiritual wellness is because my pregnancy was the time period where I was so much more spiritually in tune with myself. Like, I did not want to cause womb trauma. I did not want to bring any chaos that was happening on the outside of me into my womb. I wanted my child to have a peaceful experience on the inside of my womb, but I also wanted to give myself that, right? And so meditation was at its peak for me. And I really got into,
That's how he get us.
yes,
That's how he
yes,
get us. He plant them seeds in us to draw us closer to him, because how can you be a
yeah,
vessel like that and not believe that it's somebody bigger than you to orchestrate that whole
yes,
thing? We keep
absolutely,
going.
absolutely. And so, just like you said, during that time, that draw, it was pulling me in a holistic way where I've been intentional about what I put in my body, but baby, at that time, like I was so intentional about what I fed myself, what I listened to, where I
Mm,
went,
it's the what you listen to and the
baby.
where you going while you pregnant. Because if somebody would tell us the truth about the environments and the
Hmm.
energy and the
Hmm.
trauma that we are transferring, the womb trauma, the tissue trauma we holding on to, the
Yes,
environmental triggers we picking up, and just, you know, ignore. I mean, it's so much that go. It could be something as small as a scent that could just send
yes,
your brain all
hmm,
in a ride, and you ain't even connected to its why,
yes,
or you know, to its
yes,
what it's doing and its power over you. Woo, girl,
yes.
girl.
Yes, that's so true. And so I think when I thought of this, my child is the essence. I mean, very orchestrated by God's hand, but my child is the essence of the intention that I put into in the womb. He is the definition of joy, right? Like he is just an at ease child. And so I think for me it was okay when because I'm on the outside now as a mental health therapist, and I've worked with developmental changes over time, and I'm looking at, all right, how are these things showing up at the brain work? It was the connection of, baby, how you pour into their spirit and your health in the womb is going to get us to what we talking about in my office when your child is, 6, 7, 75. And so
Girl,
this is why I had to have this conversation with you, because it is so much bigger than what we see in religion.
I I tell people all the time, I'm still an educator, and I'm so grateful that I was a classroom educator, because now I get the opportunity and the honor to educate people from the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm impacting like the choices that your parent is making in the womb, like when you're in the womb. And then we're gonna, be in village and connection and community. Um, and, like, let me run this by you when you in your
Yeah.
toddler years, your formative years, when you in your
Mm-hmm.
teenage years. And then hopefully, I'm reared and revered to be invited and, into those special moments like graduations and
Mm-hmm.
promotions and, your aunt. And now you got a midwife that you can say, and my doula and my, and so I think about the legit, like, spiritual wellness, spiritual health. That's what I call it. The spiritual health position that you have to be in to be vulnerable enough to know that you need help.
Yes.
It's a level of vulnerability to say, I need help. I need help during my pregnancy, even if it's my first or my fifth. I need help with my hygiene, even though I know how to shower and I know how to whatever, I need help with my skin, even like I need help. I need help with my diet, with my nutrition. I need help with my habits, my vices,
Mm-hmm.
the things that, distract me, the things that deter me. I need help with my systems and my routines. Somebody said on here, the environment matters. Yes, because when I get in community with other entrepreneurs that are productive and efficient during our co-work time, productivity and efficiency becomes something that I yearn, something that I seek, something that I
Mm-hmm.
breathe, something that I take into other spaces and places. But if I'm in community and connection and co-work with entrepreneurs that are messy, that are just out for the social media trend and the tick and the dollar, that are scheming and plotting and not praying and not strategizing and not, thinking about the impact, then that becomes what I am too. And then
Mm-hmm.
that becomes what I breathe too. And then that spills in and pours over into
Yes.
my business decisions and my business health and how my clients view me and what my clients say about me. And that's my bottom dollar, and I can't deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sit with me if you don't do
That's
that.
so powerful. That is so
I
powerful.
need people. I need people in my entrepreneurship network and circle that are not gatekeeping, that are resource finders. I need resource sniffers. Like, I don't want to be the only one bringing something to the table. I need people in my network, my village, in my wheelhouse and surrounding that care enough about me to correct
Mm-hmm.
me. Tell me when I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when I
Mm-hmm.
overstep. Tell me when I'm smelling myself too much, because I ain't, I'm guilty of it too here and there. Tell me when I'm downplaying myself. Tell me when
Mm-hmm.
I better, bank on me, bet on red.
Yeah.
Like, to tell me when. And I'm slowly but surely, slowly but surely, I feel like in year 5 now, I am just now starting to meet like some of those people. Some are men, some are women. I'm grateful to say though that it's more women. I'm finding a lot more Black women that are aligned spiritually with me for where I want to go with my
Mm-hmm.
business, and it allows me to share like this
Yeah.
vision and this goal with them.
Same.
We were not meant to be in silos. I hate when I'll see that like one meme that'll go viral and trend around social media. You working on something, keep it private. Don't tell nobody. Ain't nobody rooting for you. It's a lie. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lie. That's the devil. That's the devil trying to tell y'all not to tell folk about God's goodness. That's all it is. It's a lie. If a lie ain't never been told, can't nobody take nothing from you. I could tell you right now what I'm finna do tomorrow, and mine's still gonna pop, and I hope
But see,
yours does too.
that's the thing. You have to be spiritually well enough to operate outside of your ego. Because me being
Yep.
spiritually well is understanding that, well, I'm not in a scarcity mindset, that like God has enough to provide for me, you, and you. And so when we are in the
Hey.
space where we are open to community and support, that's also an operation of self-love. Because now I'm not trying to be every woman and think that it's all in me. I'm allowing other people to support me and show up for me, and then I show up for them and support them. And so we're building the aspect of
I love
support
that.
through how I love myself. I think one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that you mentioned about the vulnerability of support, right? So at the end of my pregnancy, unfortunately, actually now fortunately, because I found the beauty in that, I was referred out because my baby did not want to turn head down. And so I had to go to the hospital and get a C-section. And what what I learned from that was I had to be vulnerable enough to lean into the shift outside of my plan. And it helped rewrite the narrative of all of the fears that I had as it related to healthcare, because I had an amazing experience. And I noticed what happened for me was when they so I was in active labor and they had me scheduled for my C-section, but that morning my baby's heartbeat kept dropping every time I had a contraction. And so they were like, all right, get me in sooner. Because they got me in sooner, it changed my surgeon. I turned, they pulled me around, I turned on the corner and it was a Black surgeon. And my anxiety just like dropped. And it was me. My fear was just like, I don't want people reading about me. Like, I don't want to die. I don't want to, right? I didn't want to be this stereotypical experience with having a C-section, because that's so much of the fears that you get in society, right? But that was needed for me to help reframe the narrative for myself. Because now I also have
Mm-hmm.
to journey with women in their own mental health when their plans in pregnancy change, or when they're to shift into vulnerability of support. So I think that was just
Yeah.
powerful, of just like how vulnerability in leaning into the change of the plan is so necessary to even be open to support.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
One of the things I love getting to do as a birth worker, right? And I kind of borrowed this from my hat as a yogi. My job as a yoga instructor is to show you how the things, the tools, the practices, the habits, the disciplines that we are developing on the mat affect you, benefit, and transfer off of the mat
mm,
so that you come back, right?
mm-hmm,
And so as a doula, as a birth worker, I make it my goal to make sure that the decision making process that I teach you, that we practice, that we go through for your birthing experience is transferable for, for whatever location, wherever you are, because birth is not an emergency until it is an emergency,
mm-hmm.
until you do need that support. And when you do need the support, you have to have the foresight, the awareness, the ability, and the vulnerability to say, I'm so grateful the support that I need
Yeah.
exists. It's when we're operating out of fear that we bypass and then.
Our apologies for the abrupt ending. On this day, the live ended based on technology difficulties. But for those of you that have tuned in for the full Black Business Mentality series, we thank you so much for your time. We hope that you received something. And we hope that if you are in business or deciding to go into business for yourself, that someone sowed a seed of hope, someone sowed a seed of validation of your growth in your journey in entrepreneurship. You guys be well, breathe through it. Bye.